Hello crafters, it's Dawn here from Dawn's Inspirations. I wanted to share with you another file folder mini today. We've been doing a little series on this. We've done 4 so far. So this is the file folder mini style 5. So for this you're going to need a full scap buff office folder. So just generally you can pick these up anywhere at office supplies, shops, stationery stores, online. You can pick them up everywhere. So this is measuring 13.5 by, I think it's 18. So that's 9.5. Yeah, so that's 13.5 inches by 18.5 inches. Okay, so it's a full scap size that I'm using here today. But if you've got the A4 size, you can still join in and make the file folder with me. You may need a sheet of 12 by 12 craft card as well to make some tags, but I haven't decided yet, so we'll just see how we get on. So also, as you know, in the mini-series, I've been using paper collections that come through with craft magazines. So this is the scrapbook magazine that I'm using here today, and this is issue number 78. And in here you've got a free paper collection, and this is from Hot Off the Press. And this is the Botanicals etchings. So in here you've got lots of pattern papers, you've got some cut apart labels you can use, there's plain ones as well. So there's paper in here that's all free. It's not perhaps as thick as you'd use for your general scrapbooking, and that's why this paper has been perfect to use with these file folders. So that's why I've been doing this little mini series, so you can make some beautiful mini albums out of next to nothing really. The glue of choice I find that works really well with this is the Calal all-purpose glue, purely because when you apply it to the back of your paper, even if you're using really thin paper, which sometimes what you get in magazines isn't as thick as you get normally, it doesn't warp or buckle. So for these projects it's absolutely great. I mean, I love this glue. The other great thing about using this glue is when you're layering it up, say you're sticking your paper to your file folder, this does make it quite rigid and quite firm, so it helps to firm up your projects as well. So I would recommend getting hold of some of that if you can't. If you go to my website, there is a link to where you can get it from. It's from Crafter's Companion, and you can get it in the US and Australia now, so you can go ahead and get that. So we'll put this to one side and we'll go ahead and we'll make our main folder. So we're going to have this at the full size, so I'll need to cut this down to 13 inches. So I'm just going to bring my paper trimmer in, turn it around the right way. I don't need that last little bit, so I'm just going to trim that off. So I'm just going to trim that down to 13 inches. Hope you can see me in camera shots. The only trouble with working with a big piece of paper like this. So I'm just cutting this end off. Okay, so we'll get rid of that. We don't need that piece. That's 13 inches. Okay. So on the long side, which is this here as it's open, okay, we're going to start by scoring. So I'm going to take my mat out of the way. As you can see, I've got a new scoreboard. I'm trying out the Stampin' Up scoreboard because you've got 1/8 of an increment all the way along, whereas my Score Pal doesn't. So I'm trying this out to see how I get on. So I'm laying my paper right butt up to that end, and this is the long flap. If you look at how I've got it laid, it's the long flap underneath. Okay, so we're going to start with that. Don't worry about any writing on your work, that will be covered up. So we're going to start with the long flap here, and I'm going to do the first score mark at 3.5 inches. Now obviously, because it's a bit longer than your scoreboard, it might not fit in, but not a problem. Go down as far as you can, and then if you look naturally, you've got a score line at 9.5 inches. So we're going to leave that there. Then what I want you to do is on that fold that you've created, or the fold that's there, that 9.5 inch one, butt that right up to your edge now, and then I want you to do another score line at 6 inches. Okay, I'm going to just flip this over and reimburse these score marks, because you know I like to double score. I haven't got to worry so much about the middle one because that's already there. I'm also turning it round so I can fit in the whole length as well. So if I bring that butts up with that. Okay, and then what we're going to do then is on the short side, let's just bring this round so I've got it the right way around. So on this short side, again I've got my flap here to the top. Okay, we're going to score at 4 1/4. So if I was you, I would just go down to that big score line that we made, because it's not going to go all the way down to the bottom. So do 4 1/4, then you want 4 3/8. And then you want 8 5/8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 8 6/8. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to now fold that, because I can see where these score lines are, and then I can just go over the top for them. So there's a little trick there for you. Now if you're using your bone folder, just bring that in like that, you might find you'll struggle to make your marks. So if I was you, I would get a ball embossing tool. I've got another one in here somewhere, to get through the double thickness. Oh, can't find it when I want it. There you go, it's another one there. So I've used a ball embossing tool as well. Okay, but this one's got a nice ball end on it, so it just means you can go through the double thickness of the cardstock. Okay, now obviously when I flip it over, my measurements are going to be slightly different. So what I'm doing is I'm moving it into a channel so I can just double score. I've based this file folder. I did a project, one of my first projects was a mini wallet, like brag book, which went really well. A lot of you have loved doing that project. So I based it a bit on that, thinking that went off so well, how can I do that again? And also I've been looking around on the internet at what some of you other ladies have been doing, so I've taken some inspiration from that as well. How I come up with these measurements is obviously I'm looking at putting photographs, so that's why I've got the sort of 6x4 measurement here. So obviously I like to get as many photographs as we possibly can in a project. I'm just going to now go ahead and fold some of these score lines so we can actually see what we're doing. So I'm just going to fold this one over. And then I'm going to fold this one over. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is, as you lay your file folder out, you've got your bigger piece at the bottom here. If you lay it out so you've got your top piece here, we're going to do some cutting. Now we've got 2 channels that we cut along here with 1/8 of an inch difference on both of those. I want to cut those 2 channels out. So I'm just going to use some scissors here for this. So I'm just going in with my scissors. So I'm just cutting the 2 channels out. I'm only going up to this score line that's in the middle. Okay. very close to that one there. Let me just, you can use your paper trimmer if you don't feel confident doing it with scissors. I've gone a bit wrong there as well, but it doesn't matter. And I'll just use my craft knife then, just to take that piece out. Okay, I'm going to do the same again on this side. Can't see very well in this light. I might flip it over because the lines might show better. That's a little bit better. I know a lot of you ladies have enjoyed this series because it's a great way of using up your scrap freebie papers you get, and also it's just using a household file folder, so it doesn't take a lot of materials at all. And then obviously any extra embellishments you can add yourself. So now your piece of work should be looking like that with your 2 channels out there. So the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to just do a half turn. So bring it camera shot. I'm going to do the same again here, but only to this first score line. So I'll do it again with you. So we go just down to the first score line. Do the same on this one. Again on this one. And bring the craft knife in and just snip those off. Okay, so that's that done. So now your work should be starting to look like this. Okay, I think I've got that all in camera shot. It's a bit hard to get it all in camera shot. The next thing I want you to do is on this top line here, you've got the score line, and I want to do another score line on the first one 2/8 of an inch up, and on the second one 1/8 of an inch up, and then I don't want anything on the third one. Okay, so I'm just trying to think of the best way we can bring this round. I think if I bring it into butt up against this corner is probably the easiest, and then that's going to bring that up to that 6-inch mark again that we had. Okay, so I've got that right up. So this first one I want a 2/8 of an inch score line, and then the next one I want a 1/8 of an inch score line. Because you've got this gap in between, you can see where the score line's got to go, and then this last one, nothing at all. Okay, I'm going to flip it over and see if I can do the same on this side, just because I like to really burnish my score lines. There we go. Oh, bring my mat in, and then we'll just burnish those score marks. So that was the first one. It is a little bit fiddly when you're trying to do that, this extra one, especially when it's the 1/8 of an inch mark. It's not as easy to do, but there we go, we've got that one in, and then I'm going to do the same with this one. Okay, and if I bring it round the right way again, I'll show you what I'm looking at doing. Okay, so it's a bit off cuff. What I'm going to be doing is making a pocket. I'm going to cut this away and join this, probably to make a pocket. That's why I haven't got an extra score line on that one. So we're going to cut away some of this card here. Okay, this is going to be a flap that's just going to come up as well, and then that will go down. These will come over. This is why you've got this extra 1/8 of an inch here to allow that to happen, and then this flap will come up, and that will allow you then to fold it over again, and and then bring it down like a little pocket or like a little wallet. So that's what it's going to look like when it's all done. So when it's all folded up, it actually measures 4 1/4 inches by 6 inches. So that's what I'm looking at trying to do. Okay, so we'll unfold it and we'll look at where we're going to start off. Now I want to make a pocket with this one, but obviously we've got this piece that's going to flap over as well, but we need to also be able to get into our pocket. So I think we'll take 1 inch off. So I'll bring the paper trimmer in. So I know it's all a bit cardstock everywhere, but we'll come up and we'll take where you've got this piece here that's left. Don't worry about that, we can use that. But I'm going to go 1 inch down. So in fact, actually I think I'm going to go more than that. I'm going to go 1.5 inches. So I'm just bringing that to the 1.5 inch mark. Take your time to line it up. It is all a bit fiddly because it's so big, this project. So we're taking that piece away. Just move my paper trimmer to the side a minute. Okay, so that's the piece we've taken away. We can use that for matting and layering or anything else we like. Okay, so we're going to make a pocket out of this one. So obviously I want to put a piece of my pattern paper behind there, and then a piece of my pattern paper on this. So I'm not actually going to stick this down at the moment. Okay, so what I will do is probably I'll put some tape there so you know what I'm looking at, because I'd like to cut all my papers out before I start sticking down, because to mat things like behind your pockets, it's easier to do before you stick your pocket down. So I'm just getting these bits prepped with you. So I've just got some red tape here. I've got a really thin one. I'm working all a bit cack-handed here. I'll just take that as close to the edge. I'm not going to take the backing off this, as I said, because I want to attach my papers before I do it. I want to ink everything up as well. So, but we can still get that all inked up and prepped, and then we can put it all together. Okay, so that can become a pocket. Okay, and then this can become another flap that can come down. Now we can either put a little pocket in here and then bring it up, which would actually work quite nicely. It gives a bit more interest to the project, which I might do. So we could either make this a little pocket that you can tuck a couple of photo mats behind there. So I think I'm going to do that. So let's put some double-sided tape on this one as well. This is where you can just play with your project really, and you know, as you get more confident, you can think, right, what can I do to make it my own? So you don't have to necessarily do it how I'm doing it. You can choose how you want to do it, and often as well, the paper collection determines how you do things. If there's the one I've picked at the moment, the freebie one, the paper collection papers are quite plain. That if you've got a paper collection, say a mini pad where you've got pictures and things on, you might want them showing, so that's where you'd adapt your work accordingly. So we'll have that as a pocket there, and that's where, you see, I'm not throwing anything away. I can use that to some advantage. So even with that being a pocket, once it's folded up, things aren't going to fall out of it. Okay, and then I think we're going to keep this one plain, so I'm just going to cut this bottom piece off. Then that gives 3 different styles of doing things. Okay, and then the other thing I obviously need to do is at the top here, this is going to obviously be a pocket that will go in, so we need to round this off or shape this off in some way. This is a flap that's just going to hold that, so I might keep that as a plain flap, and then this last one I'm obviously going to then shape as well to give the front of the project. I might go ahead and add a magnet to this. I'm just wondering about the closure, but I will sort the closure out when I've cut all my papers ready for decoration. So if you want to get your file folder cut, as I say, you need a full scap size file folder. If you haven't got a full scap file folder and you want to use a A4, not a problem. You can just adapt your measurements. You probably won't get the like 6x4 size to go in the middle here. So you know that's a 6x4 size, so you probably won't be able to get that, but you can cut photographs down, so it's not a problem at all. Okay, so if you want to go ahead and get that prepped, and also I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to ink all my edges as well ready, and I'll get my papers cut up, and then we'll come back and we'll put it all together and I'll show you how we make it into a little mini album. So I'll see you shortly. I've gone ahead now and cut all my papers and started to stick them down on the project. So I just thought I'd go through a few of the last bits with you. So let's open this out. Now on this last pocket here, this third one, I've attached a magnet for a closure. I just thought it gives it a little bit more interest there, because it was a bigger flap. When it folds over, it then doesn't interfere with the next page that's coming along, because I've staggered the sizes of the flaps. So I have put a magnet on this one, and how you do that is I've just used a tiny little craft magnet here. I'll leave a link on my website to where I got mine from here in the UK. A very good company that's local to me. So I've attached a magnet on each of the sides there, and then just put some double-sided tape over. So you can go ahead now and glue those on ready. So as I said to you, I've cut all my pieces of paper out ready, and I've rounded the edges on some that I wanted to, and I've also just dusted a little bit of vintage photo distress ink around the edges, just to take that just cut look away, because I don't like that at all, but that's personal preference entirely. So I'm going to attach this one as well. So as I say, it's a quick project to do using the one file folder. I've used a couple of scraps of craft card to make a couple of tags, but apart from that, that's using everything from the free paper collection and the file folder. So it's a great cheap project for you to do. So as you can see, you can't really see the magnet over there. Okay, so this one was going to be a pocket, if you remember, and I ran the very thin double-sided red tape down there. And I also wanted an inside to my pocket, but don't waste your paper by covering the whole of the inside, because you can use your paper elsewhere. So what I've done is just covered my paper down far enough, about an inch, inch and a half, down far enough just so you've got an insert covering. So we'll take the tape off that now too, so we can get that stuck down. Wants to come off. So as I say, I've just used the really thin tape, and then I went ahead and I cut myself a little tag just out some of the scraps of cardstock that I had left. So I've put some things double-sided on that, and then I've got a couple of little tags here from the paper collection that I'm just going to stick on there, just to add a little bit of interest. So I'm only going to stick the top bit. I could have gone ahead with my crocodile and put some eyelets in there. I've picked the little tags and embellishments here that actually haven't got any words on. If you remember, in the collection there came the one with all the words on and then a set that was plain. I've used the plain set at the moment because I'm not sure where I'm going to, or what I'm going to be using this project for. So until that time I've kept those in situ. But as you can see, from that's what I've got left from the paper, freebie paper pack. So I've got that and I've got all those words. So quite a lot still left even doing this project. So that's the little tags. So that can then slide inside there. And it just needs the glue to take off as well, so I'll just tuck that down inside there. Okay, and then that's got the magnet closure on it, and then I put one of the little embellishments as well on the outside of there. This second pocket, I've cut the pockets smaller so when they fold over they don't interfere with each other, but it's entirely your choice. If you've got some Spellbinder dies, you might want to do a nice little shaped top on that. That's entirely your choice. And then as we fold this down, I've put a little pocket at the bottom on this one. So there again, I've only put enough paper to see what's going on. So I take the double-sided tape off this one. Just take those bits of tape in. That can now stick on there, and that's another little tag that can go inside there. Okay, so that's another tag. All this is all glued down ready, so then that folds over there. So you've got lots of big space in here for your photographs. Down here I've added one of the elements, but I've added it as an L shape. I've stuck that on there because then you could tuck a photograph or some little journaling behind there if you wanted to, just for something a bit different really. And then on this last page, to hold the whole album together, I thought we'll have a magnetic closure on there. So I've done the same thing again. I've used a bigger craft magnet this time, just purely because it's holding this whole album together, so we can get this now glued on. So if you touch your craft magnet, put some double-sided over it, and then what you need to then do is match up your other one with it. I mean, a lot of you have done my online workshops. I'll show you there how we attach it properly. So if you wanted a more detailed explanation of that, you can see that on my online workshops. What I'm going to do is just take this piece of backing off, because we might as well use the fact we've got some strong double-sided tape on here as well. Just stick that down. As with all the pieces that I've done, I've just allowed not even 1/8 of an inch around the edge, just to show the file folder off, because the craft file folders do look nice. You don't have to use craft ones. You can use manila, you can use, they do them in green, they do them in blue, they do them in pink. Your choice entirely. I know a lot of you have been following my file folder mini series. I mean, this is number 5 now, and I know a lot of you have gone out and bought the file folders from the stationery store. I know Staples have had a really good deal on them at the moment, but these make great little albums that you can make in advance using your freebie paper packs that come out of your magazines, and it just means you've got something there ready just in case you get caught short with a gift. Now I've got a couple of these little elements here. What I've done with these is I've put some sparkle on here, and all I've done is I've just used some glitter glue. This is just from Hobbycraft, just to accentuate the little elements here, just to give it a little bit more sparkle to the paper, because the paper's quite flat. So this is what I'm saying, just because you've got a freebie paper pack and the paper isn't perhaps the quality that you would use normally in your crafting, don't just put it in your cupboard and not use it. Do use it. Don't be afraid to use it. So, you know, you can add all your little embellishments and things to it to give it that extra little twist, if you like. I'm just going to put a bit of glue just down the body of that butterfly, because I've got the second one that was cut out of the sheet here. So I'm going to stick him on there to give a bit more of a 3D effect. And then I've got a nice big one here as well that I'm going to stick down here, because I can write on there whoever I give the album to, whatever the occasion is. So I'll just stick some glue on that one. So I'm happy with that. So as I say, I've got quite a few bits left. Put my pin in my glue there. I've got quite a few bits left. I've got these couple of big bits here that I felt were too big to use, but these could be used as card toppers at a later date, and a couple of little elements there. But I'll just show you through the album as it's all now finished. So Got the nice magnetic closure here. The glue's still a bit wet, but nice magnetic closure, so it holds everything all together quite neatly. And so that, to keep in your handbag as a little brag book or to give to somebody as a birthday gift. It's measuring 4 1/4 by 6 inches, so it's a nice good size to keep in your bag. I've obviously used this with a female collection because this is what came with the magazine, but you could quite easily run one of these up using masculine papers and using it for a man. On the back again, I've used some of the glitter glue just to highlight, I think you can see that in the light there, just to highlight some of the areas, just to give a bit more interest to make the paper lift. And then if we go inside, let that dry. As you see, we've got the element there that you can tuck journaling behind. Big photo mats that can be used. Lots of big photo mats, great for 6x4 photos. You could even add photos on here because the magnets are strong enough. And as we open it out, you've got the pocket page there. Big photo mat again. Comes down, you've got a tag there. I've just popped one tag in there. Put photographs on each side and on the back, but you could quite easily slip another tag, and if you did that I would probably do one the next size down or the next size up so it's sort of stepped in the pockets. So that's another thing you could do. And then again we've got the magnet opening on this end with another pocket, place for you to put photographs, and you can also put photographs on the front there as well. So plenty of space for adding your 6x4 photographs. A great little project. The beauty of it is that it's cost you a file folder and the free paper that you get in a magazine. So that's my take on a file folder mini. So that's my file folder style 5 of my file folder mini series. I'm Dawn from Dawn's Inspirations. If you'd be interested in having a look at the other file folder minis in the series, they are on the playlist available on YouTube. And also if you pop over to my website, dawnsinspirations.com, you'll see the other file folder minis that I've done there as well if you're interested in making any of those. So I'm Dawn from Dawn's Inspirations. I do hope you've enjoyed this project, and please leave me your comments and let me know. Bye bye for now.